Thank you. Good morning. I would like to take a moment to thank you all for coming to hear about this very important alliance, one that certainly will have a huge impact on the future of Major League Baseball. I also would like to extend a thank you to Jack McCormick and the rest of the campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids for joining together with us and being a wonderful organization to work with. The opportunity to partner with a campaign that has such a strong mission has been a positive experience, one I hope we can continue for the years to come. The issue of smokeless tobacco and its harmful effects is one that the MLB cares about, whether or not our history reflects so. Baseball fan or not, you probably have all heard of Babe Ruth, one of the best natural sluggers ever in the game. When the icon, who smoked and chewed tobacco, died of throat cancer in 1948, the public was not at all fazed by the fact that his death was caused by his smokeless tobacco use. Although smokeless tobacco went on the back burner when cigarettes became popular between the 50s and 60s, by the 1980s, smokeless tobacco sales were strong, despite the repeated health warning of the health risks associated with it. The misconception was that smokeless tobacco improved concentration, overall performance, and was a safer alternative than smoking. However, it was in 1984 that the MLB and smokeless tobacco users around the world realized the immediate harm and disease this act could bring. Oral cancer claimed the life of teenage track star Sean Marcy, who had only chewed tobacco for 6 short years. This incident led to minor leagues banning smokeless tobacco during games, which eventually led up to the 2011 banning of smokeless tobacco during pre- and post-game interviews for the MLB. This remains a current rule, as well as the inability to carry tobacco products in uniforms or in the dugouts. Tobacco companies are also no longer allowed to leave free products in stadium clubhouses for the players to use. This past year, Tony Gwynn, one of the game's greatest hitters, lost his battle to salivary gland cancer, unfortunately caused by his longtime use of smokeless tobacco. In 2014, Curt Schilling, another iconic pitcher of this era, announced that he had mouth cancer. He told ESPN that every time he walked into the dugout, he couldn't wait to put a dip into his mouth. These players know what they're doing is harmful, however, they cannot seem to stop this habit. An internal report done by us at Major League Baseball found that 33% of players still use smokeless tobacco during games. Although the number has decreased from nearly 50% 20 years ago, this drop doesn't signal an end to this long-time unhealthy relationship between America's pastime and one of America's ugliest habits. It is with this alliance between Major League Baseball and the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids that we will work to lower this percentage even more. It is with this alliance that we are taking a step in the history of baseball, in the history of the tobacco industry, and in the well-being of not only baseball players, but also that of young athletes and young kids who look up to these players. Major League Baseball consists of 32 teams, each team playing 162 games per season. In 2015, the average game fostered nearly 4.1 million at-home viewers, and the entire season gathered nearly 73 million attendees across the board. The 2015 World Series fostered nearly 11.3 million viewers. If we could all take a second to think about how large this audience is and how many children and teenagers are included in this audience, we are going to be influencing mass amounts of people, not only children, but adults too. We will not just influence, but also educate. These children will eventually become adults, maybe even adults who play baseball, but before they do, they need to know about the harmful effects of chewing tobacco. To protect our kids, our players, our cities and states, we must now act to ban tobacco from our Major League Baseball stadiums and to work to set the right example for America's young athletes. Our national pastime should be about promoting a healthy and active lifestyle, not a harmful and addictive product. We know this alliance will endure many challenges, however, it is worth the journey if we are potentially saving lives. We want our players to serve as positive role models for youth, which will in turn change the way chewing tobacco is intertwined with Major League Baseball. We want to be seen as a positive and health-conscious organization, and we believe this alliance marks the first of many steps for this partnership to combat smokeless tobacco use. We hope to influence other national sports leagues to join with nonprofit organizations to influence an active and healthy lifestyle among their young viewers and fans. Thank you again for supporting this partnership. We see nothing but potential for this cause. We are excited to see where it will bring us in this year and in the years to come. Now I have the pleasure to introduce Cleo Monrose, Vice President of Corporate Communications for Major League Baseball, and Richard New, Director of National Communications for the Campaign of Tobacco-Free Kids.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to have you here to spend the time with us to witness this great coalition of Major League Baseball and Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. I would like to take a minute to give you a brief introduction of the smoking problem in the United States. The reason of bonding MLB and Campaign for Free Tobacco Kids is MLB is closely associated with smokeless tobacco, and it sets a bad example for the young viewers in the United States. So we want to change that. There are 750 players in the MLB, and there are 248 players who are chewing tobaccos in the game. That is like nearly 33% of the players smoking smokeless tobaccos in the games. This is a huge number to make us believe it is the time to raise the awareness of younger viewers in the United States and to change the habits of the players in the MLB games. Our purpose to start this campaign is to educate both players and younger viewers in this country. So let me give a brief introduction of the big picture of the smokers in the United States. There are 2.7 million high school students in this country who are smoking right now, and it's 15.7% of the high school students who are smoking. So basically, boys are occupies the 16.4 among the high school students, and girls have 15% of the they are 15% of the population in high school. And more specifically, for smokeless tobaccos, there are 14% 7 are boys who are smoking smokeless tobacco right now, and there are 2.9% that are girls. According to our survey and the Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention, unless the smoking rate drops down, there will be 5.6 million people will die who are under 18 right now from smoking in the future. The amount of deaths caused by smoking is higher than the deaths of AIDS, car accidents, and drinking alcohol in total. Now, I would like to introduce the two graphs we have right now to see there is a clearly dropping down from 1965 to 2014. From the first graph, you can see the success in cutting adult smoking rates in the United States. There used to be 42% smokers in the United States in 1965, but right now it's below 25. Next, this graph shows that the success in cutting high school smoking rates from nearly 40% to nearly 18% right now. So we can see this is a winnable battle if we make the right steps to step in and make the change. Now I would like to introduce the objectives of our campaign. First of all, we would like to reduce tobacco use for MLB players and young people in the United States. Secondly, we want to ban the use of chewing tobacco from all MLB stadiums. Now I would like to introduce Cleo to introduce the time frame and other important stuff for this campaign.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, so the key message of the campaign is to educate people on the health consequences caused by smokeless tobacco. These health consequences include mouth, gum, and throat cancer, pancreatic cancer, and cancer in the esophagus, as well as heart disease, and it also causes an addiction. Worldwide, smokeless tobacco causes 250,000 deaths per year, but smoking is the leading cause of preventable deaths, leading up to 6 million deaths per year. So young people look up to baseball players as role models, especially young athletes. They admire them. They have a special place in their heart. Maybe they support their home team or their team where their parents are from. So I really think the MLB is a great way to help younger kids understand this. So our target audiences, our main priority is to target America's younger generation, specifically young athletes that are directly involved in playing maybe baseball for their hometown league or do have dreams of playing in the MLB. And this alliance will also target all users of smokeless tobacco, and hopefully it will inspire other sports leagues, the NBA or the hockey teams, to also put this into place. And the tactics that we will be using are, we plan on launching a social media campaign, and our hashtag is going to be #KickTheCan. Social media will greatly help us because the millennials all are on every aspect of social media, so we'll be reaching out from Tumblr all the way through Snapchat. And MLB players will be able to use their own personal social media to promote this #KickTheCan. And they can promote it and also educate followers with their captions. In addition, we also plan on creating a commercial including our spokespeople, which will be both celebrities and current players of the MLB, that will advocate for the campaign for tobacco-free kids. So our time frame for this campaign, although our partnership does begin today, we will be throwing a launch party at the MLB headquarters in New York City on December 17th to hype up the alliance and get everyone excited. And to ring in the new year, we thought it would be the best to televise our very first commercial on January 2016. So you'll see that coming to you soon. And we are aware and thankful that smokeless tobacco has been banned in 3 stadiums already: Los Angeles' Dodger Stadium, Boston's Fenway Park, and San Francisco's AT&T Park have all enacted this, and it'll go in place in 2016, and we commend those stadiums for doing so. Our goal is to add 3 more stadiums to the list by the end of this year, so hopefully when we talk to you guys next time this year, we'll have 3 more stadiums to that list.
For the measure of success, it's pretty straightforward. First of all, we are going to measure the decrease of the use of chewing tobacco in the United States. Basically, MLB will conduct a survey and a report to publish it every 3 months to show to track the progress of the campaign. Second of all, we are going to decrease the number of stadiums that allow chewing tobaccos. We are also going to conduct a progress report on this. Thank you guys for joining us for this press conference today and take the step to stop chewing tobaccos in the United States. And we are now open for questions. Thank you.
I'm not sure who would best address this question. Admittedly, you are facing an uphill challenge because Major League Baseball has yet to actually ban chewing tobacco. You mentioned how it's kind of an iconic image, unfortunately. How do you take a step to make the league that you represent take a stand here the way that this group is taking a stand? And I'll open that up to anyone who cares to answer it.
Okay, well, I mean, the MLB has already...
You can step up to the mic.
Yes, sure. The MLB has already banned smokeless tobacco in 3 of their stadiums, as Richard had mentioned, in LA, in San Francisco, and in Boston, not only in those stadiums, but also in all parks and venues in those cities. So it was a collaborative effort between the stadium and the city managers and everybody involved in that decision. So in order to go further and to start banning them in more and more stadiums is really not so much a question anymore of whether or not the stadiums themselves are on board, which I'm sure our commissioner can tell you that they will be, because when you look at it, like they're going to be on board because the MLB is on board with this. They're not going to have the opportunity to deny our requests to ban smokeless tobacco in the stadiums, and they're going to help us enact this positive change.
So as far as banning it from the MLB, as in players are not allowed to use it, we can't necessarily do that because everybody has their right to free will. Everybody, I mean, people that chew tobacco have been doing it for years. It's a part of their game. Some can't play without using it. So of course we can't ban it from individual players, but as Jack was saying, it's the stadiums and cities themselves that we can get them on board because, I mean, the majority of those people aren't playing the game and may not necessarily chew tobacco. So I know the MLB did have a problem with the players' union. They obviously stood up for having their right to chew tobacco. So there is going to be an issue, but we're going to try our best to let them know this is for educating younger people and it's for the best, it's for their well-being. So thank you.
I have one other question for whoever might want to answer it. Do you expect a backlash from the tobacco industry? Because after all, as insidious as this sounds, these are their young customers of tomorrow. Would anyone like to handle that question? Do you expect to have any backlash from Redmond or any of those other?
We expect to have backlash from the tobacco industry. We're not worried about it. We're as I said in my speech, we're absolutely believe that we're fighting for the right side, and we believe that we're going to come out on top.
Tony D'Angelo, Sporting News. I have a question, first of all, for the commissioner, and that is, are you offering any tobacco cessation programs for players?
As of right now, no, but it is something we have been discussing, and it's a possibility that that will help educate them as well as get them on board to be a part of our campaign.
Okay, and a question for the VP of Communications for Major League Baseball. Does this mean that an advertising ban is in effect for tobacco products?
From the MLB? Or?
Yes.
Yes.
Stadium signage,
Stadium
game
signage,
programs, well, it's already banned on television, all media.
Yeah, and we'll be displaying like the hashtag on like the Jumbotron it's called in the stadiums and making sure everyone's aware of it.
So you're committing now to accepting no revenue dollars from
Yeah.
tobacco-related
Yeah,
systems?
we're ready.
What was the main motivation behind this? I mean, I know we saw the statistics, but can anyone, was there anything anecdotal, one thing that, straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak? And tobacco chewing has been part of Major League Baseball and baseball for a long time.
Well, at the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, we of course have been working diligently to help put an end to all tobacco products, smokeless tobacco included. And I actually met Haley here at a fundraiser last year for the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. Her and a couple of her associates were invited, and they came along. Haley, as you know, is one of the youngest commissioners of Major League Baseball ever, and she has done a great job in championing a sort of new era in baseball where they're trying to reach younger fans. They're trying to be more progressive. And her and I sat down at that conference, or at that event, and we had a long conversation about what is the socially responsible way to move forward with baseball, because she knows, as well I'm sure many of you do, that baseball has a sordid past with smokeless tobacco. Each team used to be sponsored by a different tobacco company, and they've since moved away from that, and now we're about to enter 2016. We're about to enter a year that we want to be a year where we cut down smoking, smokeless tobacco, all tobacco products by a large margin. And Haley, thank her, is on board with it, and yeah, that's how this got started.
Sam.
So you guys seem to use a lot of statistics from both smokeless and smoking tobacco products. Are you planning on teaming up with any other organizations for smoking tobacco? Is that one of your goals, or are you just focused on smokeless tobacco?
Well, we're partnered with a lot of different organizations, but for right now at this press conference, we want to just keep it to our relationship right now with Major League Baseball and smokeless tobacco.
I don't know if you addressed this question yet, but who is going to be funding this project? Is the MLB doing it? Is the campaign? Are you funding it together?
Most of the funds will be coming from Major League Baseball.
We'll be putting in as many funds as we can, but as I said, we are a nonprofit organization. We rely on donations, so the MLB's picking up most of the tab on this one.
Does this include the minor leagues?
We hope to extend it to the minor leagues after seeing how well it works in the majors.
Is that regarding minor league stadiums, or do you mean?
The minor leagues affiliated with the major league organizations, and yes, also their stadiums.
Yeah, I would disagree with what you said.
Have any of you ever used smoke-free tobacco? No, never tried.
I have the campaign. I got involved in the campaign a few years ago, and before that, I had tried it. Yes, in the notion of honesty.
If you could step to the podium, I'm curious
Sure.
because for people who have it's not as if you try it and you immediately like it. What do you think is the allure with baseball players? Why do the 33% still chew when the statistics are so stacked against them?
I know it sounds silly since these are grown men that we're talking about, but it's peer pressure. We have a video. The campaign has a video on YouTube that talks a little bit about this. And there are testimonials from baseball players, Kurt Schilling in particular, who said he would have never tried dip, he would have never tried smokeless tobacco had it not been in the dugout, had it not been so available, had the people before him not done it. Babe Ruth chewed smokeless tobacco. If you want to be a great baseball player, you want to be Babe Ruth, you looking up to him, maybe you chew smokeless tobacco. That might give you the edge. So it's peer pressure. That's what it is. For the record, it's gross and it's disgusting, and when I tried it, I hated it. But peer pressure is why, and so we want to help to educate not only the youth of our nation, but also the baseball players who have fallen victim to this awful product.
Where do you start? I mean, you mentioned the commercial. That's in January. We'll start seeing that. We heard some of the action items. What will success look like to you? What will be a headline of success if you were to, rejoin this group in another year or so?
Well, like we said, ideally, this time next year, we want to add 3 more stadiums to the list. So in 2016, next year, officially, LA Dodgers Stadium, Boston Fenway Park, and San Francisco AT&T Park, plus all their concert venues, will no longer be allowed to have smokeless tobacco. So that'll be one step in the right direction, plus hopefully December next year, we'll have 3 more cities that'll follow suit.
Why is this, in terms of getting the smokeless tobacco banned from the stadiums, why only 3? That just seems like a small number. So I'm curious as to why you're not aiming to have more stadiums by the end of next year.
Well, with the backlash, since we said smokeless tobacco is such a historical thing in baseball, there's not one game you can't see a player getting ready in the dugout, warming up, not spitting out that lip that he just passed. So I think 3 stadiums just to keep it. Obviously, we'd love to have more, but to keep that backlash to a minimum and make sure everyone still enjoys their favorite pastime, I think 3 is the most reasonable number we can think about.
And in the previous 3 cities that had banned it, that was independent of the MLB. So it just because it's the same amount that has already been banned doesn't mean that it's going to be the same amount of work, because they had teams behind them in each city working independently to do it. With us, it's just we're coming from one direction to end it, and we also want to make sure that we do it right. So we could probably ban it more, but it might not be as effective and as permanent as opposed to us doing it just for 3 for now.
Okay, we'll smile.
Richard, if I could ask you, how do you pay for this campaign? Where does the money come from? Does it cost? Is there a financial component to this?
It's actually obviously coming from MLB, because MLB is like the biggest funder for this campaign, and the cooperation between MLB and the campaign for tobacco-free keys. And since we are a nonprofit organization, basically our money is coming from the fundings and the donations from personnel and who are getting involved in this campaign. So basically, we are depending on the money from MLB, their commercials and their revenues.
Will it be expensive? Will something like this be expensive?
Actually, we have a budget, and for the first year, it's approximately $1 million for this. But right now, we are still working on the budget part for both of us. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take one last question.
Do you think $1 million is reasonable?
We think
you have
1
a
million.
lot to do, you have a lot of advertising to do, you have a lot of negotiating with different people to do. I mean, just, do you think that's reasonable at all, $1 million?
Well, in terms of staffing, it's going to be mostly people from our organization, the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. So we don't need to add any more funding to that because they're already getting paid through our donations. And in terms of cost for this campaign, the major cost is going to be the advertising, you're right. But with the streams that the MLB already has, we can get a limited cost to the advertising because of the good relationship that the MLB has with many of these stations. So $1 million is, yes, it's reasonable.
Okay, we'd like to thank everyone for coming today, and we look forward to seeing what we can do.